U.S. President Donald Trump departs China after having tea and lunch with President Xi Jinping. Xi hails a landmark summit with many outcomes achieved. Trump claims some economic wins, including China's purchase of Boeing airplanes, but with no confirmation yet from Beijing. And Hong Kong keeps the GDP forecast for 2026 at 2.5 to 3.5% after strong performance in the first quarter. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Cheryl Yun. President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump has wrapped up their high-stakes summit in Beijing with a private tea meeting and working lunch. Both leaders held fruitful outcomes. Xi said the two sides had agreed on a new strategic footing for bilateral ties, while Trump called the visit very successful. Quinton Yang reports.
The final day unfolded in an unusually intimate setting. Xi hosted Trump at his official residence and workplace in Zhongnanhai. As the pair strolled through the gardens, she pointed at some century-old trees that drew Trump's attention. Trump appeared particularly impressed by the garden's renowned roses, prompting Xi to promise him seeds as a gift. The two leaders later sat down for tea, further building their personal rapport.
I've chosen this place especially to reciprocate the hospitality extended to me in 2017 at Mar-a-Lago.
This has been an incredible visit. I think a lot of good has come of it. We've made some fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. He's a man I respect greatly. Become really a friend. We've known each other now 11 years, almost 12 years. That's a long time. And we've settled a lot of different problems that other people wouldn't have been able to settle. And the relationship is a very strong one.
While the rest of their talks were kept private, state media Xinhua later quoted Xi as describing the visit as historic and landmark, with both sides achieving broad consensus on stabilizing trade and expanding cooperation. Xi also underscored their shared ambitions, noting that while Trump seeks to make America great again, he remains dedicated to national rejuvenation. Trump concluded his visit in the afternoon and was seen off by Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Before leaving, he formally invited Xi to Washington this September for a reciprocal visit, vowing to maintain the sincere and in-depth communication established during the three-day trip. Quinton Yang, Cable News.
U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States and China share common goals for ending the Iran war, while Beijing cautiously urging further diplomacy. He also expected China to purchase American farm goods, oil and Boeing airplanes, with no confirmation yet from Beijing. Speaking a day after the formal talks, Trump said he and Xi discussed Iran and that they hold similar positions on the issue.
We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. We want the straits open.
Trump also told Fox News that Xi had pledged China would not supply military equipment to Iran. He added that Beijing offered to help facilitate an agreement between the U.S. and Iran that could lead to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer, he said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help.
In Beijing, the foreign ministry did not directly comment on Trump's remarks, but renewed calls for dialogue to resolve disputes over Iran's nuclear program and said the strait should be opened as soon as possible. Trump also claimed that China has agreed to buy 200 Boeing jets, potentially marking Beijing's first major purchase of U.S.-made commercial aircraft in nearly a decade. Among other business deals, such as purchases of American soybeans and oil, though China has not explicitly confirmed. Back to Hong Kong, the government has held its full-year economic growth forecast for Hong Kong at 2.5% to 3.5%, following a robust first-quarter expansion of 5.9%, marking the strongest quarterly performance in nearly 5 years. Authorities also raised the forecast inflation rates for 2026. Jeremy Zhu tells us more.
This momentum was primarily underpinned by a surge in exports and sustained domestic demand. Goods exports saw a significant 23.7% jump from last year, though the figure was lower than the preliminary estimate. Private consumption expenditure rose by 4.9%, reflecting a strong bounce back of household spending. Government economist Irina Fan noted that while the economy outperformed initial expectations in the first quarter, officials maintain a cautious stance for the remainder of the year. She added the decision to keep the full-year forecast unchanged reflects persistent short-term external risks, specifically the volatility surrounding the duration and scale of conflicts in the Middle East. Meanwhile, the forecast for the underlying and headline consumer price inflation rates for 2026 are revised up to 2.5% and 2.6% respectively, from 1.7% and 1.8% as announced in the budget. Fan said although she believes the impact of rising oil prices would affect consumer prices and fuel-related components in the coming months, overall inflation remains moderate and under control. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
Hong Kong workers can mark their 2027 calendars as public holidays next year line up perfectly for breaks as long as 11 days, with only a few days off needed. Here are some tips. As the 3-day Lunar New Year starts on February 6th, a Saturday, and overlaps with Sunday, Hong Kongers will get a make-up holiday on Tuesday. Just take 3 days off and you can enjoy a relaxing 9-day run until February 14th. Another long break opportunity comes a month later when Good Friday kicks off the Easter holiday in late March, following Qingming Festival on April 5th, a Monday. Chalk up 4 days of annual leave between March 26th and April 5th, and you can create an 11-day getaway. Several other public holidays fall perfectly on Thursdays: Buddha's birthday on May 13th, the Hong Kong SAR Establishment Day on July 1st, and Mid-Autumn Festival on September 16th. Request just 1 day off each time and you can get a 4-day long weekend, ideal for short trips. In autumn, National Day on October 1st and Chongyang Festival on October 8th both land on Fridays. Book 4 days off in between and you can upgrade to a 10-day holiday. Finally, since Christmas falls on a Saturday, Hong Kongers will get a day off December 27th, a Monday. With New Year's Day in 2028, 4 days of leave will give you a 9-day break to send off the old year and start the new one fresh. Hong Kong welcomed more than 4 million visitors in April, marking a 10% increase compared to last year. According to the Hong Kong Tourism Board, in April alone, the city recorded around 4.22 million visitor arrivals. And thanks to the Hong Kong Sevens that took place in the same month, the board said it helped attract more international visitors. In the first 4 months of this year, the city saw more than 18.5 million visitor arrivals, up 15% compared to the same period last year. Of those, mainland tourists accounted for over 14 million, while non-mainland ones stood at 4.3 million. Police have arrested former Wang Fu Court Incorporated Owners Committee member Jason Kong and his wife on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud and money laundering. This came 2 weeks after Kong delivered a petition urging the estate's temporary administrator to meet with homeowners. Jeremy Zhu has more.
The couple, both directors of an interior design company, are alleged to have fraudulently obtained several $100,000 in loans under the government's special 100% loan guarantee scheme during the COVID era. It is understood that Kong applied twice for the loans in 2022, allegedly misreporting shareholder injections as operating income for the period between January and March 2020. This created the false impression that the company's revenue had later plunged due to the pandemic. thereby securing loan approval. Under the scheme, applicants must prove that monthly revenue from February 2020 onwards fell by at least 30% compared with the average monthly revenue of any quarter between January 2019 and June 2020. Kong had served as a committee member of Wangfu Court Owners Group across 2 successive terms. Following the estate's major fire, he initiated a joint petition demanding a homeowners meeting. Late last month, he personally submitted 247 signatures to the Office of Hop On Management, the provisional administrator of the estate, calling for a meeting. Kong also testified at the independent committee's 3rd round of hearings, raising concerns about the committee's operations and proxy voting. He publicly urged contractors and consultancy firms behind the estate maintenance to attend the hearings. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
An 83-year-old woman was found dead after a fire broke out in a flat at Yutong Court in Chongqing. The exterior wall of the flat was heavily blackened and the window frames were deformed by the heat. The fire broke out in a flat at Heitong House in Yutong Court at around 4 a.m. Firefighters forced entry into the unit and extinguished the fire within some 30 minutes using a single hose line. Around 300 residents were evacuated to safety as a precaution. The woman was discovered inside a room and pronounced dead at the scene. Preliminary findings suggest the fire started from an extension board overloaded with plugged-in electrical appliances. The Fire Services Department has stepped up enforcement against buildings across the city that fail to carry out annual inspections of fire installations. In the past 2 years, more than 400 prosecutions have been successfully brought. Jeremy Zhu reports.
Special enforcement action began in July 2 years ago, with officers initiating inspections at 3,300 buildings, mainly older residential and mixed-use blocks. So far, 419 prosecutions have been secured, resulting in fines totaling $330,000. However, about 30% of buildings have still not completed their annual inspections. The department said the campaign will continue in the long term, taking into account social trends, needs, and risk assessments. Officials added that enforcement related to fire equipment will be strengthened, and further prosecutions cannot be ruled out. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is fighting for his political life as Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham plots a Westminster return and Health Secretary Wes Streeting quits the cabinet, paving the way for a potential leadership contest. Quinton Yang reports.
Andy Burnham, nicknamed King of the North, confirmed he will contest a by-election in Makerfield after a loyal member of parliament vacated the seat to facilitate his comeback. Boasting 9 years of mayoral experience and public popularity eclipsing the prime minister's, Burnham is the left's primary hope to unseat Starmer. However, the gambit remains a race against time, as he requires urgent approval from Labour's ruling body and faces a weeks-long campaign that could sideline him if a leadership vote happens immediately. Meanwhile, just hours earlier, Wes Streeting resigned from his post as Health Secretary, scorching Starmer for a vacuum of vision and drift at the heart of government. While Streeting has yet to formalize his bid, allies suggest a challenge could land as early as Thursday. Former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner also remains a major force, backed by strong trade union ties. After resigning last year over a tax controversy, she now says she has been cleared, following a £40,000 stamp duty payment, and is ready to play her part in any contest. Other dark horse contenders include Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, a former Labour leader, and Defense Minister Al Carnes, who fueled speculation with a detailed critique of the party's direction. With 81 MP signatures required to force a contest, Starmer's premiership is at its most perilous. Following disastrous local election results, over 90 of his own MPs are now demanding his departure, leaving the Prime Minister isolated as he vows to fight on. Quinton Yang, Cable News.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down 426 points. Top active stocks of the day. Tracker Fund was down 44 cents. Alibaba was down $5.60. Hua Hong was down $11.10. Xiaomi was down $1.02. Foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar, euro 9.10, Canadian dollar 5.69. On to the weather now. Cloudy with occasional showers and thunderstorms. Showers will be heavy in some areas tonight and at first tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 24 and 27 degrees. Moderate to fresh east to southeasterly winds, occasionally strong offshore. That's our news tonight. I'm Cheryl Yun. Thanks for watching and good night.